right, so this is January 10th, 2015, and as my dad was saying, I did not send him the questions ahead of time like I said I was going to. I think this should be a little bit more impromptu. I'd like to get his answers just thinking on the fly. So we're gonna start out with some simple questions just to get warmed up here. And basically, Dad, what I want you to do is maybe if you have a longer answer, just try to keep it within like a 1 to 2 minute time span, okay?
Okay.
All right, so Dad, what is your full name?
My full name is Roy Allen, and that's with a Y, Davis.
Okay, and I'm glad that you brought up Allen with a Y. Do you know why your parents named you your middle name Allen with a Y?
Don't have a clue.
You don't?
No.
I thought you had told me once before.
If I told you, that was probably
Yeah,
why.
I wish I remembered.
Because I don't remember.
Okay.
That's happening a lot lately.
Were you named after anyone? Like, where did your parents come up with the name Roy?
Don't know.
Okay. And how old are you?
I think I'm, what am I, 74? 73? I'm 73.
73. All right. So like I said, some simple questions. Do you prefer sweet?
Were those the simple ones?
No, there's more. Do you prefer sweet or salty foods?
That's toughy.
Yeah?
Yeah. I can't. I can't.
So you don't really have a preference then? You just kind of...
No, I have extremes on both of them.
That's interesting. What are some of your hobbies?
Work.
You're like a worker bee. You don't do anything.
Work is my hobby.
Okay. You don't tinker with anything like outside your work hours or watch maybe news or political?
Oh, definitely watch political and business. My interest is business. Is the theory, the process of business. Like the Shark Tank.
Okay.
Yeah, Shark Tank, like that. I like doing that a lot. And then I like looking back at my experience and looking at the shortcomings because I know what they are. And I like to look at those and think about what would have happened if I would have done this, or this.
So do you like...
And that doesn't suggest that I want to do this, and this.
Right.
And that's very arbitrary.
Okay. Do you feel like you like the more innovative part of it, like the invention side, or do you like the business investment side of it?
I like the creative, the initial beginnings of a business. In fact, I've started 5 businesses, and I like doing the forecasting, the predictive stuff, and working through cash flows and formulating it and putting it. I like the organization. I like to get it up and profitable, and then I don't like it anymore.
Okay, that makes sense. And how many times have you gotten something up and profitable and then decided to move on?
Or had economic setbacks. Let's see. We Quad State Power, Great Plains Trading Company, Timber Ridge Supply, General Turf.
Were those all lawn and equipment?
Yeah. And I did side things at the same time. When I did General Turf and Grounds Equipment Company, I also started a tree service on the side. And of course, when we started our first one, Quad State Power, then I got in to some respect into the real estate business because I bought our building and leased it back to us. And that was kind of neat, a neat little thing.
Mm-hmm. Is that to get tax benefits? And
it was taking advantage of opportunities that are presented to businesses. I like starting them, and I did make We did make Quad State Power very profitable. We did make Great Plains profitable. And I did make, let's see, not General Turf. General Turf and Grounds was not profitable. What was the other one? There was 5.
Timber.
Oh, Timber Ridge Supply was profitable. Yeah.
So those were all lawn care type companies, and now you're doing eyeglass accessories.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you've continued to do probably until, you might come up with a new idea, like, it might fly with
Done it
Cardigo
for
or something like
26
that.
years.
So why would you continue on with this company versus wanting to continue with those profitable companies from prior?
Well, first of all, because there was personality conflicts in some situations, some of these situations, there was some fiducial conflict between a couple of the companies, and it was a lack that I became disinterested in it and wanting to innovate and start another one, and so that's why. In fact, in my experiences in business, there was a time to shut the door. I didn't recognize that at the time, and had I accepted that, as most good businesses do, and even in a case or two, file bankruptcy, which I never done. Mm-hmm. But it probably would have been more appropriate than riding that horse till it died.
Yeah. I'd also like to add, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like maybe you do like this current business because it gives you freedom to travel and, experience new things outside of the home or in a set area for a business.
Well, yeah, and it satisfies a lifestyle, and it's not one of monetary value. It's of a flexibility of work and what we're doing, and because if it was all about finances, we wouldn't be doing this because it's not financially rewarding, but we'd like it to be. But in order to do that, we would have to start doing a lot of things that conflict with our lifestyle.
Okay. Moving out of the business side of things, I'd like to get into knowing who was the most influential person in your life.
That's a toughie. My dad, in some way, because he was a tool and die maker, and he started a little appliance business. And when I got out of the service, I worked in his appliance business, and I saw him trying to develop something. He wasn't good at it, but he was trying to develop something, and I kind of envied that. I thought that was a neat thing to do, and that probably would be one of them. The other one is in the service. I was with a Lieutenant McConville, and he drove me to always be better and improve myself, and then I did that. Other than that, I listened to a lot of motivational tapes. I listened to a lot of self-improvement tapes and books, and I like that stuff because it drives you.
So the lieutenant who challenged you or was influential to you, how did he drive you to become a better person? Did he always just kind of keep tabs on you, see how you were doing, or how would you say that happened?
No, he just constantly commented that I was more than what I presented myself as, and he said he said I was very talented and very a leader, and he felt, in fact, he tried to get me into officers' school. He let me rephrase that. He encouraged me to pursue an officer's training. I never did, but because I've always been kind of a rebel that way. I don't like to follow the pattern of success. I like to do things kind of my own way, and that's probably why I'm where I am.
Okay. So just so that you know, some of these questions were submitted by your kids. They just have different answers or different questions that they want to get answers to that
Sure.
maybe we just didn't know.
Sure,
So simple
sure.
questions. We want to know, did you really not like polywogs?
Really not like pollywogs.
And I don't know the background to this, but maybe you could.
Is that the
inform
one?
us.
I don't know if that's the one where they were left to bake out on the back patio. That might be one of the reasons I made an issue out of them. But no, I don't have a like or dislike of them.
Okay. When you were young, before you ever had children, and you would dream about what was it going to look like in the future? Do you remember what you thought your family would be like? Like how many kids, or if you'd be married, or
Yeah,
type of thing?
a picket fence kind of a thought, I suppose.
Like a traditional?
And well, even beyond, because after I started listening to the motivational stuff, you were always searching to the greater, the greater, the greater, and so yeah, it was all about. In fact, I have writing somewhere about wanting this for my family or this for my family.
Really?
And to have the family included in the businesses was always a desire of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, family, definitely family, kids, yeah.
Like lots of them? Or
Yeah, yeah. It's easier for me than it was for the wife, but.
Okay. When did you realize you were a grown-up?
Oh, I haven't got there yet.
Okay. What was the most fearful moment of your entire life?
The one that jumps in my mind is in Munich, Germany, leaving a restaurant that was adjacent to the Hofbrauhaus. When I went to Germany in the service, I tried to assimilate to the German economy. In other words, I tried to learn their language, try to learn their habits, their dress, and I did that. And I was sitting in a restaurant adjacent to the Hofbrauhaus, and I was talking to the waitress in German, and two fellows sitting over a table, 10 feet from me, started talking about me and how I was pretending to be German and whatever. And I wasn't pretending, I was trying to assimilate into their culture. And anyway, we had dinner, and they said a couple things to me, and I pretty much ignored it. And it was nightfall. It was late at night. And I went out, and there was an alleyway between the two, and I was walking down there. And one of them came up to me. They started throwing insults and put a gun to my head. And I thought, wow, this is something. And then they said some things, and I couldn't understand it all, but it was something about imitating a German and, whatever. And I said to them, do what you're going to do. I turned around, walked away from them, waiting to hear a gunshot.
Yeah.
It never went off.
Wow. Did you say do what you're going to do in German or in English?
Yeah, in German, I'm sure.
You walked away, and then what happened moments after that for yourself?
I just walked away.
Wow.
Filed in my memory. I actually had one in Illinois, a similar experience. I was driving on Route 1, I think it is, up along the border of Indiana and Illinois. And I saw, as I was driving northbound, I left off in a field, and there was these ultralights. Well, I'm interested in aviation. And so I thought, wow, there's a guy out there with them. And so I saw a pull off, and there was a bunch of big rocks. They're all painted white in front of this house for 60, 70 feet. And it said private property. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go find out what he's doing. So I turned in between the rocks and drove out behind the building, was driving up toward him, following a driveway. And he started walking toward me. And so I stopped, and he came up, and he pulled a gun on me. And he said, can't you read? It says private property, And I said, well, I saw you were working with the ultralights. I'm interested in ultralights, and I wanted to talk to you about it. And it said private property. It didn't say if you want to come and look or what. He said, it's private property. And I said, okay, I'll leave. And he stood in the left front of my car, and it was summer, stood in the left front of my car and said, no, I'm going to call the sheriff, have you arrested. So he had his gun out. He called the sheriff, and I started calling him. And I said, well, you do what you're going to do. I'm leaving. You either get run over or whatever. And so I started going forward and kind of brushed him aside. And took off and went up to Robertson. Is that the name of the town? Anyway, I went up to the police department up there and reported what had happened. And they said, oh, that's crazy so-and-so.
Oh, yeah? They had a record?
They knew what it was, yeah. That was scary.
Wow, that is pretty scary. I can't even imagine having a gun pulled on me. Speaking of fear, and those are the moments in your life, have you ever had a deep fear of something that you just can't get rid of? Like a fear of spiders, a fear of being around a lot of people. Have you ever had a fear that you have tried to shake?
Well, there was a time when I had a fear of speaking in front of a large amount of people, a large crowd.
But you were able to get over that?
Oh, yeah. And it became fun. Yeah.
Okay. And the last question I'm going to ask you, which I do hope to have more questions in the future and do this again, but today the last question is going to be, what was the proudest moment of your entire life?
There was 4 of them. Let's see. Well, when your kids were born, that was always a big day. And of course, when we won Distributor of the Year at Quad State Power, there was a international grouping up in Conemaugh, up at whatever that place is, that resort up there. Anyway, there was an international meeting for Jacobson, and at that meeting we were presented with the best distributor of the year after only about 12 months, and that was a proud moment.
How did you get to that award? Like, was it through marketing, a marketing strategy, or?
Well, it was 2 things. First of all, it was something to do with the seasonality and the climate, because what we ended up doing, we had been in business for I don't know, 10, let's see, July, probably 10 months, 12 months. Anyway, and that was a year of bad snow, and we sold 13,000 snowblowers. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's not a small. We had warehouses full of snowblowers, but and we went from about, I guess we had $1,200 in the bank when we started, and we did $5 million.
That's amazing.
And that was amazing, and it was really neat. Unfortunately, a lot of that was snowblowers because of the bad snow. So subsequently in distribution, you buy about a half a year ahead or a year ahead for the next season. So we bought in for a similar volume, and the next year there was no snow.
Oh, wow.
So that's when everything began unraveling.
Because then you have all the old models, when the next time it snows, you have to purchase new ones.
Yeah,
wow.
and all of the companies got shellacked. I mean, the manufacturers, they got shellacked, and we ended up getting involved in a lawsuit and went to Washington to hire attorneys and everything. It was a big deal.
Wow. Did you want to speak any further on the proudest moments question?
I'd have to think about that.
Okay. We can come back to it. Well, thank you, Dad, for your time, and I appreciate you answering these questions, and I'm glad that we got it on video. We do want to do this again at some point, because I'm sure we all have questions. Sometimes I'm driving in my car and I'm like, I need to ask my parents one of these questions, because I do want to know the answer. So as we come up with questions, we can write them down and ask him in our next video interview. Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.